Hi guys, welcome back to the DIY recording studio, and today we're going to be doing a build guide for the Studio Projects C1 mod from Pt.1. And what it is it's one of these Studio Projects C1. I did a video on this recently, this one which I'd already modded and compared it to the unmodded version. So what I'm gonna do is do another mod and just give you guys a bit of a guide to how you can better complete this modification if you want to do it yourself. Now you might have also seen the video where I had to take down the previous video of this modification just because of some potential copyright issues, but that's all okay. I've talked to Matt and we've worked out this better way to maybe do this video. So what I'm going to do is not a complete step-by-step build, but it's going to give you all of the advice you need to get this build done that will help you with the step-by-step build guide booklet that they supply you with. So I'm not here to just replace the booklet. I am here to give you some practical tips and show you some of the ways how maybe to complete the soldering proficiently and how to avoid some of the mistakes that you might come across when you try to do this modification. So first up, we need to look at the equipment you need, because to do a successful build, you're going to need some particular gear. Now, the first thing you're obviously going to need is the Studio Projects C1 microphone. That should be an obvious. And the kit that comes from Pt.1. And it's got all the parts that you'll need to do the modification to make this microphone sound very similar to that U87. Once you've got those two things, there's a few other tools that you're going to need. Now, the first one would be, probably the most important, is a desoldering station. Now, the desoldering station has this unit here with the thermostat, and then a desoldering gun like this. And this device has been super helpful to me in all of my projects where I need to desolder something, or even if I make a mistake on a PCB board. What this does, I'll just show you the tip. That little tip there goes over the component legs and sucks all the solder out, which is awesome. Now, the desoldering station is one of the vital tools to doing modifications like this. You can use devices like a desoldering braid or solder suckers to try and remove the solder from the PCB board, but it gets very tricky. The desoldering station, whilst not a cheap thing to buy, makes this job very easy. And if you're serious about DIY building and modifications, you should definitely invest your money in a desoldering station. Now, you want a very good high quality soldering iron. The soldering iron here has a thermostat, so I can control the temperature. That is very important. And then you want a soldering iron with a nice fine tip. Okay, that fine tipped soldering iron is going to help do all the fine work on the PCB that you're going to need. So soldering with PCBs, you need a fine tip soldering iron. Just remember that. Once you've got the basics, the next few tools you're going to need are something like this, which is known as a helping hand. And what you can do is put your components and PCBs in these little alligator clips and hold your stuff in there while you do your soldering. So a helping hand can be very helpful. Obviously, you also want a good quality extractor fan. You want some fine solder. Now, I use either 1mm or 0.7mm leaded solder because it works the best. If you're using leaded solder, you definitely want a good extractor fan. You might want some low stick, low adhesive painter's tape to hold your components in place sometimes, small set of screwdrivers, some snips, and some cable strippers. I have two types of cable strippers. I have the auto type, which are these ones. And then I also have these front facing ones, which can be useful for different types of cable stripping when you need to take a little bit off the front of a cable. They can be really useful when these ones kind of can't get into all the types of cable. You'll also want, as far as tools go, a pair of needle nose pliers, very useful. And then last but not least, one of these. This is what we call a component forming tool. And a forming tool is used to bend the legs of your components to get them in the PCB. The final thing you might want to have at your disposal is a good quality multimeter, just in case you need to test any resistors or anything like that during these jobs. They're the components that you'll need to do some basic soldering. You might not need a multimeter for this particular job, but I always have one handy anyway. If you're serious, once again, about doing DIY builds, you'll need this equipment at some point in time. So it's worth investing in your tools so you can do a good quality job every time. Alrighty.